Welcome to New Independence Network. This is your host, Brett Hightower, conservative, Christian, patriot, straight white male. Everything the left loves to hate. Back at it again for you with our latest update. So, here we are. Surprise, surprise, surprise. The House has voted to impeach President Trump again. There are 7 days left in his term, and these petty, childish, juvenile, evil, pretentious, self-righteous jackasses have said, "Oh, we're gonna vote to impeach Trump again." Now, Mitch McConnell, the turtle as they call him, Mitch McConnell, he has already rejected an emergency session on impeachment. At first, he said, "Oh yes, we'll hear that. We'll hear that impeachment. We'll consider that." And then he got a lot of crap because if he wants to hold on to his job, I mean, this is I think his last year, and he's supposed to retire anyway. But his constituents in Kentucky, you guarantee they're not happy. So they probably rained fire on his offices through phone calls, emails, and vitriol. So Mitchy Poo backed off. Because Mitch, when it comes down to it, he's a coward anyway. He's a coward all along. He talks a whole great deal, but he never gets anything accomplished. And the most they ever got accomplished was when President Trump became president, because they realized, well, actually, we might be able to get some stuff done. Because President Trump is actually going to work with us when they decided to actually work with him. So the impeachment in the House is pointless because with no emergency session for the Senate, the bill's dead on arrival. They don't come back into office until 1 o'clock on the 20th of January. Well, at 12 o'clock, Biden is sworn in to take over as the fake president with his fake election results. So it doesn't matter. It's done. This is just, all this is posturing and bluster, and nothing's going to happen. But let's look at an article on Breitbart.com. Headline: House impeaches Trump again. First president in history to be impeached twice. Now, of course, this is also the first president in history to do his job, besides Ronald Reagan. The first president in history to stand up to the establishment. The first president in history to be a civilian who has never been in the military or held office prior to his presidency. This is the first president to do a lot of things. So President Trump, just add this to your list. And we'll address the third bullet, which is 10 Republicans vote yes. That's going to get ugly. So you see, here's where we are. President Trump, the vote for the impeachment is not a vote against Trump. It is, but it isn't. It's against us, the regular people. God forbid we, as citizens, do as the Declaration of Independence states, which is, if you are not happy, paraphrasing, if you're not satisfied with the way your government is leading, if they start to abuse their power, it is your right as a citizenry to eliminate and recreate that government. It's our job to vote out the scumbags and put in people who are going to do the job for us. President Trump was that person. They didn't think he was going to win. They thought it was a joke, and they believed their own pollsters who had him down by 15 points in June, and then 8 points leading up to the election. He was down by 8 points in October. So they thought that Trump was going to lose this in a landslide. They never took it seriously. They didn't understand that the voice of the public, we were sick and tired of it. You see, President Trump it was not as much about Trump. I mean, it was a big part about Trump, but it was more about a moratorium on the system, starting with and not ending with Obama. Obama was a disaster. He started to introduce socialism into this country. This is a free country. We do not like socialism. We don't accept it. We will not tolerate it. Surprisingly, a lot of people have, after the burgeoning of it with the lockdowns from COVID, but this is not what the people want. So people voted against the 8 years of ridiculous, onerous policies from the anointed Messiah, Obama. That was a moratorium on him. In addition, a secondary moratorium against the establishment, the rhinos and the do-nothing Republicans in politics who basically come into office, they say what they're going to do, bluster, make a lot of promises, and they never accomplish anything. This is what the do-nothing rhino establishment do. And on that panel, on the dais, I guess you'd say, during the primaries, you had a large number of them. Jeb Bush, a do-nothing, like the rest of the Bushes, a rhino. I've lost all respect for George W. Bush based on the way he treated President Trump, didn't come to bat for him. Oh, I'm sorry, W. Did he go after your little brother? I'm sorry, did he pick on your brother? Your brother's a big boy. He's in politics. You know how it works. How dare people go after your brother? He trounced your brother. Your brother was an absolute disgrace. He was embarrassed daily on stage by Trump. Other establishment rhinos, Rubio, another fraud who says, I'm conservative. He is as far from conservative as you can imagine, because Rubio talks, he is like Bill Kristol and George Will and all the rest, who claim to be conservatives, but then do not want to practice and implement conservative principles. They are always happy with the status quo. If I can get money and votes from people by saying I'm conservative, then I will do that. And then once I get my power, I'll ignore everything I said. I'll make up some excuse saying the Democrats won't let me do it. And then nothing gets done, just so I can make more promises so I can get you to vote for me again under the auspices of the hope that maybe I will make those things happen. Here's my comparison. It just came to me at this moment. Conservative, rhino conservatives like Rubio, like George Will, like Bill Kristol, like Romney, who pretended to be a conservative when he was running for president in 2012 in that disgraceful campaign. Conservatives Mike Lee, another one, Mike Lee from Utah, another fake conservative. Conservatives or rhinos who pretend to be conservatives to get votes are the equivalent of Democrats using black voters to get votes. What do I mean? The rhinos who pretend to be conservatives are using the conservatives, ginning up their emotions and getting them to vote for them under the hope that these guys will get the job done that no one else has ever done before, and they're going to take care of us as people. Democrats use black Americans, gin up their emotions, get them all angry in the hopes that they will do something to help black Americans out, get them out of the situation, and get them back on their feet and get them in the right direction. And they never do it. And then once, for both parties, both sides, both conservatives and black Americans, once they got their votes, they ignore them, make up an excuse why they can't do it, do what they promised, and then they try to get them to vote for them again, making the same promises. And meanwhile, they're blaming the other side over and over again. This is what we have. Chris Christie, another rhino piece of crap, another fake conservative. There are a lot of fake conservatives out there. If you say you are conservative, then be conservative. If you're going to use conservatism to further your political aspirations and your political career, we are learning now who you are very clearly. A lot of us knew, not all of us did, but with President Trump, he went full on conservative. Now, look, President Trump is not an ideologue. President Trump does not follow a strict ideology. He's conservative-minded in many ways. He spends more than your average conservative. He's not incredibly fiscally conservative on the grand screen, but he's more practical, like a businessman. You know, you're going to spend money here, but you're going to save money here, but you're also going to make money on tariffs. So he's trying to make money so he can spend more money instead of just saying spend, 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 and then we'll just figure it out later, let taxpayers pay for it all, and then we'll increase taxes later on. That's what George H.W. Bush did. No new taxes, read my lips, and he raised taxes anyway because he didn't know how to find a way to get the money other than raising taxes. So President Trump is, again, not an ideologue. He is a results guy. He gets things done, but he looks at it as a businessman would. Problem with Washington, there are a lot of people who, well, I'd say the vast majority, pretty much every politician, never ran a business in their life. They have no frigging clue. They haven't created anything. They haven't built a product. They haven't built a building. They haven't constructed anything. They haven't nurtured anything. Only thing they've done is maybe make kids, and many of them illegitimate. But that's all they've done. And make trouble. That they can't make a product. They can't make a profit. They have no idea how to do that. They have no idea how to market something adequately except for themselves. And they do that just by straight out lies. So they don't know how to practice customer satisfaction. President Trump does. So when President Trump is trying to accomplish something in Washington over the last 4 years, you have a bunch of establishment rhinos and a bunch of do-nothings and a bunch of Democrats who are just evil to the core, who they are going to get in the way because they don't comprehend how to get things done for the people. All they care about is the preservation of power. Here's a way to explain what politicians are like. If you've ever worked in business with a consultant and your company hires a consultant to do a job, come in and run the show and give you advice on how to fix your business, okay? So your consultant comes in and says, okay, well, look, here's what you have to do. You have to change this, you have to develop this method, you have to do that. But a consultant never actually fixes what is broken. A consultant just kind of holds it together, because if a consultant actually fixes something outright, then they have now outlived their own usefulness. They've made themselves obsolete. Politicians are the exact same way. They will never fix something. They always push it, kick the can down the road. They push it off on somebody else. They come up with another excuse. And because if they ever did, then they're out of office. Then there's no need for them to be there again. I mean, you get your term, you accomplish everything you need to accomplish, you're done. President Trump accomplished so many. The only things he didn't accomplish during his first term were the things that the Republicans basically stopped him from doing, specifically when he had control of the House and the Senate during his first 2 years. He could have run the table, and we should have. If the Republicans had any balls at all, they would have pushed everything through. If the Republicans were like the Democrats in that capacity, they would have rammed their legislation down the throats of the Democrats and made them choke on it. Now, you might say Obama had control of the House and Senate with a supermajority for the first 2 years of his presidency. Supermajority, 60 more seats in the Senate, basically filibuster-proof majority. There's no way that anybody's going to swing or be able to filibuster you to keep you from passing something. So Obama could have passed everything. And the only thing he passed, and it was only by one vote, was Obamacare. That's it. The only thing he passed was Obamacare. One vote, I think, in Congress. It was very narrow margin. So why didn't Obama ram through everything he wanted to get done? Well, let's go back to the consultant. If Obama rammed through his true liberal agenda, his true socialist agenda, everyone would have seen it. He would have taken off the mask and shown everybody what an absolute extremist he is. And if the public in the United States, the vast majority, who in this country, believe it or not, most people are conservative minded. Don't believe what the media tells you. They like to make you think that everyone is a crazy extreme leftist. They flood you through education, through television, through social media, with their causes and their identity politics to make you think that that's the way the rest of the country works. It's not the case. The vast majority of this country, if you've ever seen a county-by-county election map, it's bleeding red with pockets of blue. So if Obama pushed through his full agenda in that first 2 years when he had control of the House and Senate, the writing would have been on the wall, and people would have voted him out. He would have lost his second term, and in that second term is where you can really do the damage. Well, fortunately for us, and by the will of God, people saw enough, and he lost, I think it was 1,300 seats. It wasn't, when I say 1,300 seats, it's not 1,300 seats in the House. We're talking 1,300 seats across the country, assemblymen, legislatures in states, all the way down to sheriffs. I mean, they lost 1,300 seats across the country. That's huge. Huge. And people saw that, so they voted against. So we got control of the House. And that was dangerous to them, but Obama still didn't change his tactics. And here's why. Because Obama is an extremist. And Obama was very good now, because now that Republicans have control, Obama does a great job of saying, well, we tried to pass it, but the Republicans held it up. The Republicans obstructed in Congress and in the Senate, and we can't get anything done because the Republicans are obstructing. And the crazy witch of the North, Nancy Pelosi, she does the same thing. Schumer, little crying Chuck Schumer, does the exact same thing. They say, obstruction, obstruction. See, we would do it if it weren't for the Republicans. And then they play their Democrat base who says, oh, we're going to have to keep voting you in because we have to beat those Republicans. And they maintain that status quo. So when President Trump was elected, here is a guy who's actually accomplishing things. He made promises. He kept promises. He's the first president, to be honest, in my over 50 years on this earth. He is the first president that I remember, that I know of, and I've checked with my father on this, and he's the same. He says the same, and he's been here for over 80 years. The first president to actually keep the promises that he made on the campaign trail. He actually did what he said he was going to do. He couldn't accomplish all of it because of the Republicans who weren't cooperative, the establishment who didn't want him there, the fraternity, talked about that in a previous show. Now I'll talk about it again. The little cabal of people who work together in their little fraternity, the mean girls, as you want to say, who don't like the other people, don't want to see them succeed. You're not part of our group. Al Cervic from Caddyshack, Rodney Dangerfield's character, which I've said before. How dare you try to invade Bushwood Country Club? So he would have done more if it wasn't for those Republicans. And the voters saw that. Not just Republican voters, conservative voters, but Democrat voters saw that. He got, I think, 38% of the black vote. That's huge when you got to figure just 8 years before, 12 years before, Obama got 98% of the black vote in 2008. 12 years later, 2020 election, Trump gets 38%. That's a titanic shift. That's a 36% shift in favor of a Republican conservative candidate, unabashed conservative candidate. The public saw results. It doesn't matter if you have results and you care about all Americans and you make people successful and they make money and they have a good life. I mean, families made more than $5,000 of their own money. They kept more than $5,000 than they did the year before. with tax cuts and with the business incentives and with just getting out of people's way, people made more money. So families had $5,000 more to spend. That's a lot of money for any family. $5,000 is a couple of vacations. $5,000 is a great down payment on a car. $5,000 is a lot. That's refurbing your whole house, your kitchen. You can pay for your kitchen, put a backyard in, landscaping. There's a lot of things you can do with $5,000. You know how many bills you can pay off with $5,000? Hell, that's like 3 or 4 mortgage payments for some people. And this is what the people had, and people saw that, and they loved the opportunities. So they voted in mass for Trump. He had 75 million or more votes. 75 million. Barack Obama, first black president, the Messiah, the one everyone chanted over. He only had 68 million votes in 2008. Hillary Clinton, I think, had like 57 million. President Trump had 75 million votes in 2020. And you're trying to tell me that old man Biden got 80 million more than Obama? More than Hillary? Absolutely not possible unless it's fraud. I laid that all out in episode 1 of the new year. So, the establishment and the Democrats, they hate Trump because of what he represents. It's not so much Trump as it's what he represents, and that is freedom and opportunity for the regular Americans. He is getting in the way of government and keeping us protected from government. He was there to keep the government from coming after you. Because when you have the President of the United States in your way, and you have him as your defense, there's no way they can get to you because he'll stop everything. The veto starts there. Everything's done with Trump. He has the power to do what he needs to do to keep us protected. But the impeachment of Trump now is about us. They're going after us. What that impeachment is to tell the American public, the ones who support Trump, whether they were Republican or not, it's to tell them, how dare you vote for someone we don't tell you to vote for? How dare you? You're not allowed to vote for somebody unless we pick who it is ourselves. We gave you 16 candidates in 2016, and President Trump beat them all. You chose him? How dare you? That's what the impeachment is about. They're using him as a scapegoat, but they're coming at us. They're coming at us. All these things, banning Trump on Twitter, banning Trump on Facebook. YouTube just jumped in the mix, and they banned Trump too. Well, Rumble's going to benefit. All these companies are losing their ass. They're going to lose their ass. I know they're huge and they make a ton of money, so it really won't matter too much. But you know what? Enough of it, it'll make a dent. So YouTube bans Trump. People are going to go to Rumble. Rumble's great. They're going to go to Rumble. And YouTube's going to lose viewership, the memberships. It's going to happen. And it comes down to the bottom line. Look what happened to Twitter stock yesterday. It dropped, like 8%, 6%? Something like that. That's huge. They lost like $40 million or some ridiculous, or I forget. They lost a ton of money in one day from people who just bailed out. Trump was gone. Rush Limbaugh canceled his Twitter account. Mark Levin left. A bunch of people left Twitter. Because if you're going to be able to silence the President of the United States, no matter how little time is left in office, and even if he's no longer in office, if you're going to censor and silence a President of the United States, former or current, then what do you think they're going to be able to do to you and me? We're just nobodies. We're just pawns in their game. That's them showing us, okay, guys, you think you're tough? You think you can vote who you want to vote for? Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do to your guy. We're all going to team up, and we're going to try to destroy him. Hey, Goldman Sachs is going after him now. Deutsche Bank is going after, Douche Bank is going after President Trump. They're going to no longer back him financially for his project. Why? Why? Because they believe he incited violence? Let me explain something to you folks. President Trump did. Anybody you hear them say, President Trump incited violence, which is the purpose, allegedly the purpose for the impeachment. That's not the reason for the impeachment. That's the bullshit reason for the impeachment. The reason for the impeachment is to send a message. And there's another reason that I'll get to in a second. But President Trump, if you listen to his speech, which, notice they never play his speech. They never play his speech. Let me see. I'm going to do a quick search right here online. Give me a second. President Trump's, bear with me here. President Trump's speech, Capitol Hill. Okay, let's see if I can find the actual. I'm trying to find the actual text of the speech. Okay. ABC News. This is what Trump said. Here's what Trump said at his rally. I'm going to read some of this. Media will not show the magnitude of this crowd. Even when I turned it on today, I looked and saw thousands of people here, but you don't see hundreds of thousands of people behind you because they don't want you to show you that. We have hundreds of thousands of people here, and I just want them to be recognized by the fake news media. Turn your cameras, please, and show what's really happening out here because these people are not going to take it any longer. They're not going to take it any longer. Go ahead, turn your cameras, blah, blah, blah. Fake news, big tech. Big tech is now coming into their own. We beat them 4 years ago. We surprised them. We took them by surprise, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for anything that he said here. Basically, they're saying, fight for Trump, thank you. And he didn't say anything. If you look at what he's saying there, he basically said, we're going to march over to the Capitol to protest. We're not going to march over to the Capitol. He said it's going to be peaceful. He didn't say anything wrong. There's nothing. If you go, I'm not going to read the whole speech, but if you look at the speech, he said, that's why they won't replay it, because he said nothing. He said absolutely nothing to incite any kind of a riot. And you're going to have people now, they're calling you Trump cultists. The Trump cultists are crazy. Trump cultists. So look, guys, you want to argue with the Democrats over what a cult is? I'll take you back to 2008 and past that. When people were chanting Obama, Obama, over and over again, massive rallies. People were wearing the hats and the shirts, and they were painting depictions of him like Christ. They were calling him, literally, some of them were calling him the Messiah. They were calling him the one. Remember that? He is the one. Like, he is like the chosen one. That's basically what they were saying. That is cult-like. Or they were naming schools after him. Before he did anything, before he was even done being president, they named schools after him. There were children in school. Teachers had made up songs for the kids to sing in class in honor of the almighty Obama. Gee, where have I seen a leader where the kids were forced to sing songs about their leader, almighty leader, in school? Where did I see that? Oh, that's right. Nazi Germany. The kids were forced to sing their songs to Adolf Hitler and the motherland in school in honor of Adolf Hitler. That's where I saw it before. Now the left ignore that. They ignore all the relation, much like they ignore the comparisons to how they're acting now and the lead up to Kristallnacht, which I cover in another video. You've seen that one, go check it out. So, they're calling you a cult. Anybody who supported Trump is a cult, and they're going after everybody. They're putting the people that went into the Capitol, first off, either they were crazy extremist wackos who are not typical of a Trump rally, because I've personally been to a Trump rally, stood out for over 12 hours in 30-degree weather waiting to get in to see President Trump. There were hundreds of thousands of people waiting. Not one speck of violence. Not one. The only thing we had was maybe one guy get frustrated because some guy bumped into his wife as we were trying to funnel into the arena. That's it. Because the Trump crowds are not liberal crowds. However, when infiltrated by Antifa and people who are paid by the Democrats, Democrat insurgents, then there is violence. Well, there was a Project Veritas, James O'Keefe. He had something, a investigation several months ago that I think it was actually last year, where he had recorded a guy who was paying for or paying people to infiltrate Trump rallies during the election and start trouble during the first election in 2016 and start trouble and start fights to make them look bad. I mean, it's not hard to go buy a MAGA hat. You can get them for $30 online. You can buy them rip-offs for $10 anywhere. It's not hard to buy a Trump flag. Hell, you can get them for free online. Just pay the shipping. There are places that sell them like that. It doesn't matter as long as they put you on a mailing list. It's easy to get Trump gear. But when you look at the Trump supporters and you look at Antifa, you can pretty much tell the difference because Antifa people look like they need baths. They're dirty, they're slovenly, they're unkempt, they're classless, they're rude, their behavior, their demeanor. I mean, there was a guy walking around the Capitol building carrying a Confederate flag. I've watched countless Trump rallies. I have been to one myself. I have never seen one Confederate flag at a Trump rally. Not one. But here's a guy carrying the Confederate flag and just happens to be photographed and put up out in the news and put up online. Shocking. Because that fits their agenda. They have a certain optic that they're trying to capture. And by photographing a person with a Confederate flag and associating that with someone from Trump, because if someone nearby was a guy with a Trump flag, there's their optic. It's all psyops, folks. It's all psychological operations. It's all brainwashing meant to craft an image. And they took that and they used it. They knew that this rally was coming. They sent infiltrators down. I don't want to hear any bullshit about, oh no, it's not to get you conspiracy theorists. No, folks. We have verifiable proof that's been done before, and the truth will come out. But because of the way the instant gratification news is in an instant gratification society, reporters don't do their investigation. They want to be the first to tweet about everything. Journalists are garbage now. Garbage. All of them. There's very few, very, very few that are any good. Very, very few. Most of them are crap. They go for sensationalism and imagery, and they all want to be first now. So they're going to put stuff out there, and by the time they put that information out there and say cult, say conspiracy theorist, say riot, violence, subversive, whatever you want to call it, when they say that, coup, by the time they put that out, and it's tweeted and retweeted, and then the investigation's done, 24, 48, 2 weeks later, and then they realize, oh yeah, these guys were Antifa, the damage has been done. The damage is done. This is what happens when the Democrats control the information machine. They control everything. They control social media, they control TV, they control movies, they control news. They control everything. I mean, they're even starting to, Cumulus Radio went after its conservative hosts, those who are on Cumulus. Fortunately, Rush Limbaugh is not one of them. Cumulus Radio came out and said, if you say anything about the election hoax, we are going to take you off the air. That's the threat. You can't even have free speech anymore because they're controlling everybody. This is where we stand. So they craft that image, and by chance, what happens? Oh, then they have to panic. You have the bartender, AOC, that dimwit, dipshit, who sits there and says, oh, half of Congress could have died. She came out and said that yesterday. I think it was here on Breitbart. Half of Congress could have died. Let me find it. Hold on. This was. I got to read her actual quote. Let's see. AOC. I know she's around here somewhere. God, that nasty horse face. Where are you? It's going to take a little while to find it, but I thought, okay, that's okay. She did say it. All right. Half of Congress could have died because of the Trump rioters. Right? Really? Really, AOC? Half of Congress could have died. Half of them weren't even there. They're all still on vacation, for crying out loud. I mean, we know she's dumb. Who else could be a bartender, only get a bartender job after majoring in economics at Boston University, and after 9 years? Only thing she's qualified to do is bartend? Hey, no offense to bartenders, but you have an economics degree. You should be able to do something with that, unless you're stupid or lazy. Let me think. Yeah. So this is what they make things up. And because, you see, you can have a rioter destroy your house as a regular person. They can destroy your business, your city, attack your cops, shoot your cops, kill innocent people. They can make your lives living hell, have you live in fear, and threaten your life on a regular basis and cause absolute turmoil for weeks on end. Occupy a city block, several city blocks around Capitol Hill in Portland, Oregon. They can do this. Throw bricks, tear down statues, deface statues, graffiti, loot stores, steal. I mean, there was a guy in Philadelphia on camera who was actually had a dolly and was stealing a washer and freaking dryer from a store during the looting. They could do all that, but they're just peaceful protesters. But they're just harmless little, oh no, but the majority of them were peaceful. The majority of them were peaceful? So wait, if that's the case, then you had allegedly 250 people that broke into the Capitol building, right? You had tens of thousands of people. So by the definition of the majority of them were peaceful, wouldn't that also follow suit? The majority of the Trump supporters were peaceful. There was a small pocket of lunatics. But still, those lunatics were Antifa. We don't come wearing Kevlar helmets. Those guys did. Some of them had Kevlar helmets on. So please, that's all a scam. But if you go after the Capitol building, if you go after the elites, where they live, in their seat of power, God forbid you go near them. It's like that one, there was I think it was Michigan, the governor of Michigan, Whitmer, where the riots got too close to her home. This is Miss Defund the Police. Riots got too close to her home. All of a sudden, she called the police. But I thought she wanted to defund the police. I thought police were the enemy. Still, she called the police. How about that? Why? I don't care if you're destroying the regular people, but don't you dare destroy the property of the elites. God forbid. Like I said in my first podcast of the year, there are the elites and the poor. This is what they want. They want the elites, and then they have the poor. There's going to be two classes. That's what socialism is all about. That's what they want. They want us versus them. And they have all the power, they have all the influence, and they are all that matters. We don't matter to the establishment. That's Democrats and Republicans combined. There are a few Republicans who actually really do care about the people. But the rest of them, not a bit. All they care about is power, control, and money. That's all they care about. And that's why we're here where we are. So, that being the case, there's the impeachment. Okay? They use that to instill fear, and their excuse, their lame excuse, is that Trump incited this attack on the Capitol. Bullcrap. And in this attack on the Capitol, 10 Republicans voted yes. 10 Republicans. Here are the Republicans, the GOP members, who voted in favor of impeaching President Trump the second time. Representative Anthony Gonzalez of Ohio, scumbag. Representative Peter Meyer, Michigan, scumbag. Representative Fred Upton, Michigan, scumbag. Representative Liz Cheney, Rhino, scumbag, Wyoming. Representative John Katko, New York, scumbag. Representative Adam Kinzinger, Illinois, another clear scumbag. Representative Tom Rice of South Carolina, Representative Jamie Herrera Butler, Washington, surprise, surprise, Representative Dan Newhouse, Washington, and Representative David Valado, California, all scumbags. Now, I'm not going to make excuses for these pieces of trash, but depending on their district, if you have someone from Ohio or Michigan or New York or Illinois or Washington or California, they're going to definitely have to vote to impeach Trump to appease their voters. Is it the right thing to do? Nope. Did they do it anyway? Yep. Why? Because they have no character. They are spineless, they are cowardly, they're weak, they're pathetic. And sadly, enough voters are dumb enough to go, well, see, they voted for the impeachment of Trump. They really got to support our side. No, guys, you idiots don't realize that they just did this to placate you, to make you think that they were doing what you wanted them to do. But either way, they're scum because they have no courage in their conviction. If you had courage in your conviction, you would say, I'm not going to do that because it's unconstitutional. And you would explain to your constituents, look, guys, what we're trying to do here is unconstitutional. There's no reason for it. There's no grounds for it, and I'm not going to do this. And this is dangerous to our democracy. I know you may not like President Trump, but if they do this to President Trump, then they can do this to any president ever elected again. Just because they don't like him or what he stands for, they can vote to impeach. There's no jurisprudence involved. There's no... You're supposed to go through a trial system. You're supposed to go through an investigative system, have hearings to determine whether what he did or not was impeachable offense. You have to go through a judiciary. There's a lot of process in Washington to finally getting to a vote in the House to impeach. And the fact that they just went right to the House without the proper procedure and doing the proper investigation to verify that what he did was considered impeachable should be scary as hell to you. It should scare the living hell out of you, because now that sets a precedent. Now the Congress has taken away a check and balance from the government. Now the judicial doesn't work anymore. Now it's just Congress saying, we're going to rule on high and we're going to decide who gets impeached and who doesn't get impeached. And think about this. Oh, you think this is bad? Well, what have they been saying for the longest time since President Trump nominated Kavanaugh? What did they say? We need to impeach Kavanaugh, or we need to impeach Barrett, right? Amy Coney Barrett. We need to impeach Kavanaugh. Even though he's going to get voted in because Republicans had control of the Senate, we're still going to impeach him. Well, what's going to stop them now that they have control of the Senate? What's going to stop them from actually using this new impeachment power without due process to just outright impeach Kavanaugh, take it upon themselves and say, we're just going to impeach, and get rid of Kavanaugh, and get rid of Barrett, and get rid of Gorsuch, and replace them with full left-wing justices to the point where they wouldn't even have to stack the court. I mentioned in the first video that they had to stack the court. No, they don't have to do that. All they have to do is impeach the justices that are sitting. You get rid of those three, you put in three left-wing loyalist justices like Kagan and Sotomayor, who don't even care about the Constitution. They just care about liberal left-wing politics. And you're going to have Breyer, Sotomayor, Kagan. Then you replace Barrett, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh. That's 6. 6-2. Alito and Thomas are the only constitutionalist / kind of conservative justices. And then Roberts, who usually swings to the left anyway, because people got some dirt on him. Like I said, I don't know. I've heard stories about him taking trips to Epstein Island, Pedo Island, and they said his name was on the manifest. I don't know. Just what I've heard. Might be the dirt they have, who knows. But with that, he can easily side now with Alito and Thomas, curry favor with the right to make up for his backstabbing of the right during President Trump's term, because Trump is gone and Roberts is a never Trumper. Doesn't matter. It's still 6-3. The precedent has been set. Congress has now said, we don't need due process. We don't need judiciary or investigation. I'm having a real tough time saying judiciary today. We don't need any of that. We can just take the law into our own hands and impeach because we want to. Just because we feel like it, because we don't like the guy. But remember, it's more than not liking the guy. There's two other aspects to that. One is they're sending a message to the people of this country who voted for Trump, 75 million plus. They're trying to tell us, how dare you vote for someone we didn't tell you to vote for. I mean, they picked exactly who the Democrats were going to vote for. The Democrats were picking Bernie. They cheated, clearly cheated. We're talking straight out election fraud during their primary. And they blame Trump for election fraud. They blame Republicans all the time for election fraud while they're practicing election fraud. It's the biggest goof over of all time. Look over here while I'm doing this over here. Shaking your hand with this hand, stabbing you with the other one. This is what they're doing. So they stole the primary from Bernie Sanders and said, hey, Bernie, be a good soldier. We'll buy you another house. Mr. Socialist, rich people make too much money and your 3 homes. We'll buy you another house. We'll make sure you're taken care of financially. We'll make sure you're not touchable. We'll make sure we give you a lot of money, a lot of money from the Democrat coffers when it comes to time for re-election. Just give it to Hillary. And Bernie, okay, well, I'm just going to back off and give you the whatever you want to do, whatever you want. That's fine. I'll just get on my knees and I'll just kiss your ass because I have no spine. I'm just an old man. That's what they do. They chose Hillary. They chose Biden. You had a field of 20 some odd Democrats trying to run. They chose they knew it was going to be Biden. Now, at first, I thought, you know what? They're choosing Biden. Let the old guy get his due. They did this back in time immemorial. They did it with Mondale. Let him get his shot against Reagan. There's no way we're going to beat Reagan. Hold on, I got to get a quick swig real quick. Hold on. Sorry about that, folks. There was no way they're going to beat Reagan in 84, so they said, I'll give Mondale his shot. There was no way to beat Clinton in 96, so they said, we'll give Dole his shot. Give the old guy his moment in the sun. There was no way they were going to beat Obama, so they give old crazy McCain his shot in 2008. Who cares? Why not? Just let it go. So I figured they were doing the same thing with Biden. Give the old guy a shot. But then came COVID. As I explained in my earlier podcast, my first one of the year, COVID. And they opened up a whole set of doors for them. They went, wait a second. If we can use COVID, we can keep the presidential candidate off the campaign trail. We've already chosen who he is. We picked it. Doesn't matter who voted for. We just made sure that people voted for him. Okay? So the people voted for Biden, and then they chose Kamala Harris. Kamala. Kamala is that professional wrestler. I kind of like calling her Kamala. But Kami, because she is a communist. Harris, they chose Kamala Harris as his running mate, who got out of the primaries before she even got a vote. Because she was polling at like 0%. She was totally unpopular. No one liked her. None of the Democrats liked her. But they chose her because for the elites, it is, you're going to vote for who we choose. And we're talking Democrat and Republican alike. Republicans aren't as bad as the Democrats are, but they're pretty damn bad. They didn't want Trump, but they let the people speak. You think they're going to let the people have that kind of control in the future? Do you really think they're going to? Not likely. Not likely. Because they're going to try to control that now. This is who you're going to get. We're going to tell you. They try to push you in the direction of who you're going to get. on the Republican side. On the Democrat side, they kind of push you, but then they also make their decisions. And this year they chose, you're going to get Biden, and he's going to pick Harris, and there's your ticket. Because Biden has already proven that he was a puppet. He was under control by Obama. He was basically a figurehead because he was a good old man of the Senate, and he knew the inner workings of it, and he had a lot of friends on the inside. So Biden kind of is like a sort of an Obi-Wan Kenobi to a young Luke Skywalker, which is not to tarnish Star Wars with the reference of Obama comparing him to Skywalker, but you know what I mean. Young, the one, versus a more established guy who can kind of give him his gravitas. Obama had plenty of gravitas, but Biden was there to be his go-between and push the right buttons at the Senate and swing the right people. So they knew Biden's a puppet because Biden will do whatever Obama says. Good old soldier. So they put Biden in there. He's also getting senile, so it really doesn't matter. And then they say, oh, he'll put Harris in there because Harris is the extreme socialist. Worse than Obama in many ways. A loyal communist soldier. And then I say give it up to a year. I'm saying 6 to 9 months, maybe a year, that Biden will have to step down and Harris will become president. And I'm thinking of a full year of Biden, because what you'll do, like I said in my previous podcast, you'll have Harris will have 1 year, 3 years as president. And if you take over for a president who has to step down or who dies in office, you can still run for 2 more terms. So you can actually have 2 more 4-year terms, which is 8 more years of Harris, plus 3 more full years. You're looking at 11 years, virtually 3 terms of a president that is basically Obama's 3rd term. And the radical leftist socialist in charge of this country for 11 years. Think about that. That's, I think, the plan. You're not giving her 12 years. You're giving her 11. So, it doesn't look like she served 3 terms. Because if she serves more, she can, after 6 months, she can take over and still go. You could have 11 years and 6 months. But I think they'll give Biden that first year, about a year, and then he'll be gone. I used to say 6 to 9 months. I think it may be a year. Just looking at the numbers of it, and I'm doing the math, I think that's will be the case. So this is what's happening. They will not allow you to pick who you are going to vote for. They don't want that. So they're trying to impeach President Trump, or the House has impeached him, voted to impeach him. Senate never will, but they went through the waste of time to impeach him. So they tell you you're never going to pick him again. In addition, they're trying to destroy President Trump. What they want to do is they hope that the Senate will vote to impeach him. And then if they vote to impeach him, then once you're impeached, you can never run for president again. Plus you lose your, you lose your retirement pay. You get paid for your lifetime. You don't get paid again. Something like that. But they're trying to disgrace this man. Trying to disgrace him, disgrace his followers. They're treating them like public enemies. They're putting them on no-fly lists. They're banning them from writing books, hosting websites, taking money from PayPal. This is straight out. This is the equivalent, like I said in my other video, the equivalent to what Hitler did in the lead up to Kristallnacht, starting in 1933. Go back and watch that video or listen to that podcast, and you'll hear it. I spell it out. It's pretty spooky when you stop and think about it. So they're trying to accomplish 2 main things. One is just to go after Trump, but 2, let us know that how dare you pick somebody we don't want you to pick. Don't ever think about doing it again. Don't you dare pick an outsider again. You pick who we tell you to pick, or who the establishment tells you to pick. And then 3 is let's destroy Trump for his life, so hopefully he won't be able to run again. Well, in this case, he will be able to run again, because again, McConnell already said, oh, we're not going to hold an emergency session to impeach him. They couldn't do it anyway, like I said. They're not going to call them back from vacation for this dog and pony show. But this is where we are, folks. This is how dangerous this has become. So, there it says in this article, they're calling it a violent mob that attacked the Capitol building, and that's the reason. If that's the case, just a few words at a speech that weren't inflammatory in any way, shape, or form, and some crazy renegades decided to attack a building on their own, then Nancy Pelosi, who supported the riots, Ayanna Pressley, who supported the riots, Kamala Harris, who supported the riots, all the rest who supported the riots, including the left-wing propaganda media, they're all complicit. And they all should be impeached. Ayanna Pressley, RuPaul. Ever see her? The black woman, bald, looks like RuPaul. She looks like RuPaul. She looks more like a tranny than Michelle Obama does. Michael Obama, that guy. Just saying. She should be impeached. Nancy Pelosi should be impeached. Kamala Harris should be impeached. They all should be impeached because they incited violence. I mean, if you really want to go for it, okay, let's go back to 2008 during his campaign when Barack Obama said, if they bring a knife to the fight, then you bring a gun. That's what he said. That's his quote. If they bring a knife to the fight, you bring a gun. That's not inciting violence? Let's see. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, they go low. There we go. Little quick Google search. Yeah, there it is. As per the Washington Post, liberal rag, propaganda rag, and there's a video clip of him right there. I'll see if I can't link to that in the description. Here we go. During a campaign swing in McDonough, Georgia on Sunday, this is in 2018, former Attorney General Eric Holder notes former First Lady Michelle Michael Obama's high-minded 2016 slogan, "When they go low, we go high." Then he makes clear he disagrees. Several minutes later, he said, I skipped a paragraph. He disagrees. No, Holder said, quote, "When they go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about." That's it. Oh, then, of course, several minutes later, he realized, what I said, and he clarified that he wasn't advocating anything illicit. When I say, quote, "When I say we kick them, I don't mean we do anything inappropriate. We don't do anything illegal," Holder said, "but we got to be tough. We have to fight for the very things that John Lewis, Martin Luther King, Whitney Young, all those folks gave to us." No, your first reaction is usually the accurate reaction there, hero. Your political mind said, "I'm going to go back and change that because I can get in trouble for that." No, you already reveal what you're trying to do, you loser. When they go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about. Then, of course, Obama's 2008, 10 years earlier, they bring a knife, we bring a gun. And notice how all those illegal shootings, those school shootings and theater shootings and mass shootings occurred, they increased exponentially during Obama's 8 years, more in history during his 8 years than ever before. I wonder if that had anything to do with a president who called out the police and said, we bring a gun. Just saying. If they're going to say that Trump saying that we're going to walk to the Capitol, and he said be peaceful, and then be patriotic, that was it. I mean, that was the whole reason that Twitter banned his account. According to Twitter, it was because of the tweets about being patriotic. If they're saying he incited a riot for those words, then we kick them, we bring a gun, get in their faces. Yeah. How about, what's her name? Ann Esther. You ever see Sanford and Son, Ann Esther? Yeah, that's what's her face from Houston. What is her name? Crazy old lady. What is it? Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters is like ugly Ann Esther from Sanford and Son. She said, get in their faces. You get to them when they're in restaurants. Go to restaurants. Go when they're out in the store and get in their faces and make sure you make yourself known. So she's inciting riots against people. She's inciting confrontation. But they're okay. They're in the clear. It's okay for Democrats to do it. But Republicans can't do anything. God forbid you say a word. This is what we are. This is a very bad situation we're in. This is what I'm talking about when I was talking in the video about the lead up to Kristallnacht. Hey, people are going to say, oh, Walker, you... Trust me, this is a very, very dangerous situation. So, as a result, they voted to impeach President Trump. Whoopee. Congratulations, you clowns. And you 10 Republicans, you're screwed. You're screwed for what you did. And any Republican who refuses to stand by President Trump, you're screwed. Your careers are done. We're not going to forget this because President Trump has a massive 75 plus million voters from both sides of the aisle. And they're fiercely loyal to him. Fiercely loyal. They had a poll. 80% of the Republicans support President Trump. 76% of the 80% of Trump supporters support Trump. 76% of Republicans support Trump. After all this, of course, his approval rating is at 49%. 49%. But I thought he was the public enemy number one. I thought he was destroying this country. They have no grounds. But this is where we are, folks. So, there's the show for today. There's our update. I hope you learned something. I hope we talked about some interesting stuff. We know that Democrats are dangerous, and we're going to be here to catalog more and more of their danger because it's not even a matter of, I'll make some jokes about it, but it's not really a joking matter. Try to keep it light as we possibly can. But the fact of the matter is we have to take this very, very seriously. So I'm asking in humor so it doesn't seem too doom and gloom, but the fact of the matter is we have to be nasty and we have to fight back. This is how we have to do it. We have to be ready for war because they want a war, and they're bringing the war to us. They brought the war to us. We are actually in a war right now. It's not a physical war, but it's a war. Well, they make it physical. They're making it physical by attacking our people, but it's a war. It's a war. All right, folks. Brett Hightower, New Independence Network. Thank you very much for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Have yourself one hell of a day.